Hello, everyone. My name is Patricia, and we're here with Kim again for our monthly business update number 7 already. Unbelievable.
Yes. Hello, Patricia. It's so good to connect with you again. I can't believe how fast time is going, and we're already at update number 7. It's been amazing.
Yeah. So, Kim, shall we jump straight in? And maybe you want to give us an update of what has happened in the last 4 weeks and an outlook of what you're up to for the next few weeks?
Sure, absolutely. So, past 4 weeks, the biggest accomplishment that I'm super excited about is I finally just yesterday got my first episode of Transformation Tuesdays uploaded. So, if anybody hasn't checked that out yet, go check that out at Transformed by Truth on Facebook or at Transformed with Kim on Instagram.
And they are
Um,
amazing. Sorry to jump in, but they are fabulous. Yeah,
Thank you. I
amazing
really
stuff.
appreciate that. It's been something that I've wanted to do for a while, but it's all just the logistics and kind of figuring other things out. It wasn't the right time until it was the right time. Yeah. So that's the big accomplishment. I don't know if we talked about it last time we were on here, but I was in the market for needing to get a new computer. I did finally decide on a MacBook Air. So I now yet have to unpackage it and take on the daunting task of learning it because I've been a Windows girl my whole life. So that'll be good though. I'm excited about it. It'll be an opportunity to learn and play. And then a couple of other things that are on the horizon. I attended some master classes recently put on by other content creators, other coaches, and got a lot of wonderful information to incorporate with my clients, but also made some pretty great connections. I've got a call tomorrow or maybe Friday with a woman that's not too far from me in regards to possibly doing retreats. And then another opportunity to partner with someone who works with a houseless community in the United States to help give her some tools to help regulate their nervous system. So, all good things. I feel like doors are opening and possibilities are expanding. So, I'm really excited about that. Now, back over to you. Same question.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, good stuff happening for you. I mean, it sounds like that you're in a solid groove with your business and yeah, plugging along, right?
Yes. And it's really interesting, with all the work that we do, even the practitioners sometimes have mindset issues that we have to get over. And I think there for a while, it was just life felt overwhelming. I think I've mentioned before we had some medical stuff going on with my husband, but it's like once you kind of can realize what's going on, you have the opportunity to step back into the flow of life rather than resisting life. And I used a lot of the tools that we have in order to help that. So I'm back on the horse and excited to be there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, well, on my side, I mean, as you know, my goal was to post at least 100 reels or shorts, and I made 70, and then I fell off the wagon because a new opportunity came up for me. Yeah, so sadly it's a little bit quieter for me, but in the background, I'm thinking alongside with our dear Jennifer Van Allen on a new product she's been developing in terms of marketing. So yeah, that's very exciting for me. Yeah, to support her there. And yeah, once it's ready to launch, once it's live, of course I will share all the links here as well. But yeah, so we're recording long form content, short form content for her channels, and yeah, but also the long form content I'll be sharing on my channels as well. So yeah, I'll take you with me on that journey. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's really super exciting. I know a little bit more, but I know it's kind of like under wraps, so I'm going to keep my lips closed until it's time to maybe disclose more. But I just wanted to speak into that a little bit because congratulations on the 70 videos that you did, because that is no small accomplishment. And I watched many of them and the content was fantastic. And it also seems that your efforts were rewarded, because then I'm assuming that Jennifer saw your talent in that space and then reached out to you to partner in that way. So that's very cool.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I mean, I did marketing in one of my past business lives, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really interesting because I really want to be a practitioner. And oh, yeah, we can also celebrate my first paid client in the meantime. And I love being a practitioner, and I still believe that this is my calling. But then, same as for you, opportunities open up. And yeah, so seems like I'm really good at marketing. It doesn't feel like work to me. And yeah, it's also like the strategic aspect of it. That's a lot what we are talking about right now with Jennifer. Um, yeah, so marketing doesn't always have to be that operational, right? You can also be very high level, strategic about how you design customer journeys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and I love that you mentioned that you, I'm paraphrasing it, but so many different facets within our strengths. You know, like we don't just have one strength. There's lots of different things that we can, you know, enjoy and go deep on and play in. So it's really exciting for you. I'm super happy to
Yeah.
see how all of that unfolds and where life takes you with this.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Right. Yeah, I don't want to be the one who jumps from one shiny object to the other. I still want to have that career as a great practitioner. But then on the other hand, it would also be like, well, if you're good at it and if it's easy for you and you're having fun with it, why don't you continue on that path as well when opportunities present themselves on your doorstep?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
and I'm also, I mean, one thing I also do in parallel is I dive more into traditional Chinese medicine. We have some foundational knowledge or experience also with it through our HIP training by Jennifer. But yeah, I want to dive deeper into this. So yeah, I'm reading books and I consider about taking another course, but yeah, one thing after the other.
Oh,
Right.
that's really exciting. I love traditional Chinese medicine. That maybe we can have that as another topic that we talk about at some
At
point. We
one point, yeah, we should.
share things
That's
we
a good
learn.
idea.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be great. So
Well,
do you
that
want
was
to tell
a
people? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, because I was like, ooh, that was very smooth that that transition Kim came up with, because what our topic of today, because today we want to talk a little bit about longevity, right, Kim?
Yes, yes. And specifically how joy plays a part in that also. And we've got some
Yeah.
practical how-tos to share. So it's a really exciting conversation today.
I like it. I like the way you frame it is specifically on joy because when we think about longevity, I mean, I have aging parents right now, and then here's also a very big senior foreigner community of Canadians and US Americans here in the Dominican Republic who spent their retirement here. And they have their best life ever. I mean, they are party people. They party so hard. They have bands and then they have to go to the concerts of the other bands. So they are busy, these guys. They are stressed. And
Yeah.
there's also a big health and wellness community here where I live. So they age well, right? So aging doesn't have to be such a scary topic, but how to age gracefully and joyfully and healthily. Yeah, let's double click on this today a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you set the stage a little bit about the aging population within the Dominican Republic because a lot of the things, the actual practical how-tos on increasing longevity are probably things that they're already enjoying and already involved in just simply by the nature of the culture there and the
Yeah.
the pace of life. But we'll get into it. So let's get into that a little bit
Yeah.
more. So
And I also want to mention it that we specifically want to bring this topic now because now, when you're in your 50s or 40s, now is the foundation you lay for healthy aging, right? For longevity. I mean, there are studies, there's a new study, especially for women, that dementia can be already prevented when you're in your 40 if you take a little bit of care of your brain health now, right? Yeah, so especially for us women, it's super important, and there's minor changes that make such a big difference 10, 20 years later in your life.
Yes. And I would underscore get started as soon as you can. And at the same time, it's never too late to get started if you
A
haven't.
hundred percent, a
Yeah,
hundred percent. So,
absolutely.
but I know, Kim, you are prepared for our call today. Maybe you want to share your secrets you found out about what is healthy aging. How can that look
Absolutely.
like? What can we do now already?
Absolutely. And I'll just preface, I may be a little bit more tied to notes today than usual, but that's okay. We all have grace for each other. And I wanted to make sure to contain the information and not lose track of it to make sure we covered everything today. So kind of the first thing that I wanted to take a look at is maybe taking a look at how we define longevity. So often people think of longevity and it's like, okay, it's just the number of years under your belt, how old you are. But really it can be looked at through a little bit different lens in terms of brain health and brain patterns as well, and nervous system. So it's really can be looked at as far as reducing the biological stress to the body so it can adapt, repair, and renew. If you think about our physical body, you cut your finger and what happens? The body starts to repair itself. So as long as we have got the chronic stress mitigated and lowered and doing the things like omegas and other things that we know to do, I think that that longevity is going to be a natural byproduct because our body was designed to be a self-healing mechanism. Yeah.
Hmm.
So as far as joy, let me ask you, Patricia, what do you think of when I bring up the concept of joy?
Joy. Yeah, I mean that's a how much fun do you have in your life or how much do you enjoy your life in general? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we still need to live life, right? And there's always the trash you need to take out. There's not much fun in that probably. But to be yeah, so we need to be realistic that there will always be situations where you're just like, well, I need to suck it up and be a grown up now and just do this. But yeah, how can I design my life that I have that really enjoy it?
And I love that. That is such a great explanation. And I would imagine that's probably what most people think of when they just think of joy in general. I want to take it another level, just a little bit level deeper, though. Really,
Okay.
it is a state of nervous system coherence. I'm going to say that
Mm,
again, nervous system coherence. Again, it's that natural byproduct that we see externally of what's really going on underneath the hood, so to speak, like in our internal world. So things like the vagus nerve being activated, and that can be something accomplished, something as simple as humming activates the nervous vagus nerve. Did you know about that?
yeah, yeah. And the way I interpret it, the coherence part for me is like, there will always be spikes.
Mhm.
When you have a difficult or dangerous situation in traffic, your nervous system, your vagus nerve, you should be in fight, flight, freeze. You should be
Yes.
in flight ideally and get
Yes.
away as quickly as possible out of the dangerous situation. But for me, then the coherence part comes in. How fast can I regulate myself then through humming, for example? Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely does. And it really comes back to that word resilience. We want to be able to increase activation when we need to and decrease activation afterwards. We can have that cortisol spike and then how fast can we downshift into more of a parasympathetic state after that. And I mentioned cortisol. That's another component of this is managing your cortisol, and joy. That state of joy will decrease cortisol. It's a great way to notify the body, hey, you're safe. And so it can help it drop down into that parasympathetic situation. Also, when joy is present, just a few bullet points here, mitochondrial efficiency improves, inflammation markers tend to lower, and repair pathways, this is cool, repair pathways turn on. Because when
Mhm.
you can't really be in joy if you're in fight or flight. And
Mm.
so it decreases, it just kind of downshifts that system. Put simply, the body repairs best when it feels safe. And joy is one of the fastest signals of safety.
I really like that. So often when we talk about these topics, it's also fear-based and it's from a perspective of lack and scarcity, and escape a situation you don't want to be in. And then just realizing how powerful it is to seek out joy, more joy in your life, and
Yes.
be conscious and mindful about it. That probably already solves so many of your issues in general.
Yes, well, and we won't go too don't dive too deeply into it, but that brings it to my mind the reticular activating system, and then the lens through which we are looking at the world. And if we have a belief system that the world is this horrible, scary place, then that's what we're going to perceive and focus on. Versus if we believe that the world is joy filled and we can find happiness and joy in our experiences, then that's what our mind is going to focus on. But I love that you brought up the fear aspect of things, because a lot of times people can be doing the right thing. For example, biohacking, red light therapy, other things of that nature, things to increase their longevity that there's so many gurus out there talking about. But if they don't have the right mindset about it, if they're doing it from a fear of aging rather than a joy of living or a joy of expanding their quality of life or their just enjoyment of life, then it may be counterproductive. So they may be extending their physical years, but not the quality of those years.
Mm, well put. Yeah.
Thank you. And then talking about brain patterns, we're brains pattern and nervous system specialists. And so I of course had to bring in some brain pattern situations here. There are certain brain patterns that will accelerate aging. So hypervigilance. And I'm feeling very seen in this moment right now because that's something that I've had to walk out of. I think that that's something that's very common. And I think that you would probably give a good definition of what hypervigilance is. So would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Ooh, I mean, that can take on so many forms for people, right? Yeah. Um, yeah. Everybody who took HIP, the Holistic Intuitive Practitioner program with Jennifer, we are the level up attachers. That's a new definition of the attachment styles that are out there. And the level up attachers, they are constantly scanning the room of what can be improved, what could be better, right? Because yeah, I mean it has so many reasons, but that's basically a trait of the level up attachers that they're always hyper scanning, always checking of where could be a threat, where do I need to maybe inject a little bit of harmony, smoothing in a conversation because I sense that this person might explode in a second. That could be an example. Yeah. Do you want to share what your hypervigilance point was or your usual trigger of hypervigilance?
Well, I think, I don't even know that there's one specifically, but I think you touched on kind of several. It's when you are a naturally intuitive person, and you've had certain experiences throughout your life, it just makes you a little bit more in tune with your environment. And again, it just all goes back to safety. And that could be like a real physical threat, like, oh, there's an actual bear in the room that's about to eat me, or it could be an emotional, psychological, perceived threat, like, oh, I think that person is in a really bad mood and I don't want to get yelled at, And so,
Yeah.
so that's probably how it played out for me. And then it also poured out, and which is the actual next talking point, in perfectionism. And I think in some ways perfectionism gets a bad rap because there's certain times that certain things should be done in a particular order, and there's sense that's made by doing things in a particular order. But I think that what we're really talking about here, again, it's brain patterns. It's that consistent, oh, I have to get it right in order to be accepted. I have to be aware at all times. It's basically just not trusting that you're okay in your own skin, I think is really what it boils
Mm,
down to. Do you
yeah.
have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you that perfectionism gets a bad rap because when I'm in for something, I'm in it 100% and I want to
Mhm.
do it right, right? Yeah, but then sometimes it can be too attached to outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the key right there. Will you still be okay if this XYZ that you're engaged in fails or doesn't turn out to your expectation. I think that
Yeah,
that's,
or maybe it sometimes also stifles a little bit the creativity because who am I to judge that the way it turned out isn't perfect?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful concept. And I would actually pause here for just a moment to encourage our viewers to kind of sit within that thought just a little bit more. There's like a lot to unpack there, but
There's
probably
a
not
lot
time
to
today.
unpack. And,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I have that weird habit of just scrolling through reels on Instagram, but there was this. Sadly, of course, I never saved them, but this one really stuck for me since 24 hours. So it was really a good one. There was this guy who was on an interview, probably a very famous podcast, and I'm just not aware on my island of who all these famous people are. But they had such a brilliant conversation. This guy has been through a lot. He had cancer. He had a lot of misfortune in his life, but he saw a blessing in everything of it. He's like, well, of course, cancer was tough, but hey, I survived it. I survived it. So he saw himself as a survivor, and he met so many beautiful people through it. And he was also see the beauty in the care he received, for example. That was a big lesson for him. So of course, this is also a little bit American. Sorry, not sorry, but I also want to be mindful that we don't have to be hyper positive about everything and all the time, right? But
Yeah.
still, you brought up the reticular activation system, and you have the responsibility and the power to tell your own story in a certain way. And I really don't want to downplay certain situations that just happened to me, being an accident victim, a road accident victim myself, right? I mean, I didn't want to happen that, and God didn't send me that accident so that I can have a beautiful teaching or learning moment out of it, right? So there are situations where, yeah, it's also totally legitimate. I think that's my point. If a loved one dies, there's no joy in that. So sorry, I that was a big circle.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And I think that that's a really good point to make because yes, it can be beneficial to us to look at life through the lens of positive or through joy and gratitude, which is different than positivity. I think that
Mm,
just blatant positivity might be what you're referring to if I'm
yeah.
hearing you correctly. Um, but I think for me, anyway, the key is where can I find the bits to be grateful for through the experience, like your accident. Yeah, God didn't like smite you and cause you to have this accident to learn some colossal lesson. It was an accident that you experienced, but through the pain, through the journey, where are the moments of things that you could find to be grateful for? And probably another conversation, but there's a slight nuance between gratitude and joy, and even different
100%.
between happiness as well.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was definitely open to the experience. Let's put it like that. I mean, I was collaborating with the medical stuff. It
mhm,
was here in the Dominican Republic, so my hospital Spanish was kind of like zero, so I had to learn a lot of new words, right? But I was definitely open to the experience, and I collaborated, and it was a
yeah,
big adventure for me in the end. Of course, it still sucks. I have some permanent damage of it. Don't want to be, I mean, it's not a huge thing, but still it's a little bit of a disability.
yeah.
But yeah, so lots of ups and downs there.
Yeah. So mindset is important. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily everything, but it can make a huge impact, especially when we're talking about quality of life, because it's how you perceive the experiences, I guess is really the
Mm,
underlying point that I'm trying to get.
mm,
Yeah. Good conversation. Well, and a couple of other things just to finish out kind of the brain patterns that can accelerate aging. Chronic responsibility without rest, suppressed emotion, and identity built on I must do everything right. And we kind of nuanced, talked about some of those within the perfection and the hypervigilance conversation.
mm,
But the bottom line with all of that is that those patterns keep the nervous system in a sympathetic dominance situation. So more of locked into that survival, locked into that fight or flight, which can increase oxidative stress, disrupt sleep patterns and architecture, impair detox and digestion, and ultimately reduce cellular repair. We have to be in that rest and digest in order for our body to have the feel safe enough really to do its natural functioning of healing the body and having that downtime.
Yeah. I mean, now that you brought up the sleep and so on and the emotions that have not been processed, I mean, that's really mean for women, when we are in perimenopause and menopause. Jennifer's teaching is that everything that is unprocessed will, how I'm paraphrasing now, but when you wake up in the middle of the night in perimenopause and menopause with the sweats and so on, that's also unprocessed stuff that comes back to you during that hormonal shift. So it's really mean that we are confronted with it in such a drastic way as a woman, right? But on the other hand, it's also a beautiful opportunity, and I'm so grateful about all the great yeah, information and breaking taboos of perimenopause, menopause that's out there finally, right? So there's also a lot of community now where you can process of
Yes.
that life transition together.
It has been such a taboo topic for so many years, and you're right. I'm so glad that it's becoming more widely talked about because there's mothers wouldn't even talk to their daughters about it, and so there's like this
Yeah.
whole segment of women's lives that was just not available to have conversations around.
Yeah, I mean, there was also the doctors are not educated at all either,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
that's all coming now finally.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
really, really a great, wonderful shift, and my mind is just kind of trailing off to thinking about some of the statistics that I've read about. Um, Even major medical studies, like there were almost, I want to say, and this might be misquoting, but like almost zero major women were not included in major medical studies
Mm.
until I want to say the past decade or so. I'd have to
Yeah.
go back and fact check that, but it was really interesting. So then, like medications or just a lot of the body of knowledge that we have around certain experiences never included women in that study group, in that testing, in that
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
group. Yeah.
And also because you keep on mentioning the nervous system, the states, fight, flight, freeze, or fawning, and we know now that women have that fourth sense of tend and befriend. And it's great that there's so much more research now going on with menopause and perimenopause. But as you brought up the emotions, I think for us women, it's just so important to be in community and just talk about stuff, without an agenda. That's already this venting, so to say, and being in community, that's already so helpful, right? Yeah, without analyzing, without an agenda to fix something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Again, and I want to underscore that without an agenda to fix something because some of us, and I'll throw myself in that category historically, like, oh, let me fix it, let me fix it.
Yeah.
But there's such beauty in just being able to share openly. In another pastoral counseling course that I had taken over the past couple of years, they call it an empathetic witness. That's just
Mm,
a beautiful concept to me. Just someone to witness whatever
mm.
experience you're going through and then to tend and befriend, not judge, not fix, just be present with you. And
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. And we brought up the reticular activation several times today because when you're fixed on, oh, I need to heal, I need to fix this, or that's an issue, guess what? What you're perpetuating.
yes. What do
More
I
to
need to heal?
fix.
Oh, well, let me just tell you everything that you need to heal, right? More healing, more sickness, more to-do list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Excellent.
I know that, I mean, we prepare a little bit for these calls, and I know that Kim has more stuff in on her list of what else could be beneficial for longevity, right? And it's so simple.
It is
Want to
so
share?
simple.
That was me throwing the ball to you.
Yes. Yes. Well, I guess where I thought you were going initially was that it's so simple in terms of we make life too complicated, I think. So often we go down the rabbit holes and make it so complicated. But if you really consider, take a look at Western civilization and Eastern civilization and cultures that exist without so much of the technology. No, don't get me wrong. Modern technology is fantastic and modern
Yeah.
medical advances, etc. But as far as like true health and true joy and quality of life just in existing, I think a lot of the more low tech societies, not so much Western societies, have a lot more going. And there's been a lot of studies that I'll let folks go out and dig on that on their own. But as far as like specific specific things that we can
Yeah,
get.
disclaimer or spoiler, we don't have a new fancy supplement for you.
Not
No
really
sales pitch
diagnosing, treating, or
coming.
prescribing. Yes, exactly. Quite the opposite, in fact. Okay, so really, the reframe for longevity is how often does your body experience regulation, safety, and connection each day? Kind of pulls together everything that we've talked about so far. It's not how many supplements are you taking, the latest and greatest thing that's being advertised online. It's not how strict your routine is, and it's not how optimized your tracking is of all of the biohacking or supplements or devices that you're implementing.
Your
There's five
morning
simple things.
routine.
Yes. So there's really just five things that we're going to share today. The first one is red light therapy. So why it matters. Well, first of all, let me toss the ball back to you, Patricia. Do you want to talk a little bit about what red light therapy is for? Nope. You're like, nope, not a little. Okay. Well, full
I'm
disclosure,
not prepared.
I
You
haven't.
prepared. I didn't prepare today.
Well, so red light therapy it comes in so many forms and fashions. It's all over social media. We'll get into this aspect of it here in a moment. You can get red light therapy, red light simply by the sun. You know, the early morning sun, the sunrise, and then the late evening sunset. The sun itself gives lots of different spectrums of red light, which speaks differently to different aspects of your cells, of your body, to allow and engage different levels of healing. Now, somewhere along the line, somebody's figured out how great red light is for the body, and they've kind of captured it, right, in a way. And so now we've got all these different devices, from little handheld things you can hold in front of your face to big panels that you can use. There's even face masks that you can put like on your face. So lots of different ways, and I'll let viewers do their own research in terms of red light therapy, near infrared, far infrared. There's a lot of different research that can go into it. So that this is just very high level. Why it matters. Red light therapy supports mitochondrial function. Again, throwback to like third grade science. Mitochondrials are the little powerhouses of the cells deep within our body. Red light therapy also improves cellular energy, or ATP, and it signals repair rather than stress to the body. So really good things. So how to use it practically: short sessions, 5 to 15 minutes. Consistency is key on this type of thing. You want to continually tell your body, hey, this is the state we want to be in. This is the targeted thing that we're working on right now, specifically for that mitochondria. And then it's best when it's paired with calm breathing exercises or stillness. And you have got so much background through your yoga training and yoga certification on breath work. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that a little bit now, if you would like. If not, I can move on to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I think the I'm on the trip to simplify everything. So what is always really nice is just to have a longer exhale than an inhale, because this really calms down your nervous system again and signals your body that you're safe, right? So whatever is available to you, let's keep it as simple as possible. Count your inhales and then just add another count or two on the exhale. That's already enough and a great meditation exercise.
I love that it's so simple. You don't have to get lots of gizmos and gadgets. It's just simple, and you can do it standing in line at the grocery store if you're feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, and
Yeah,
nobody has to know. Yeah, it's really
yeah,
great.
yeah.
The second thing that we just wanted to bring out today is grounding or earthing. And we've talked about this, I think, lots of different times on different episodes, conversations that we've had. But just as a reminder, it reduces electrical charge buildup. It supports parasympathetic activation, and it can improve sleep quality. From a biblical lens, I'm reminded that man was created from the dust of the earth. So it makes sense to me from a Christian perspective that when we put our bare feet on the earth, we would get a cellular recharge because it truly is the same energetic frequency that we resonate at. And it's called the Schumann frequency. So again, viewers can go take some time and dig into that if they're so intrigued.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, in the meantime, I really need it when there's a day where I can't go, oh, spoiled me, on the beach and walk in the sand barefoot and dip my toes in the ocean. I really feel it. So the
Yeah,
next day when I can go again, I feel like, ah, yeah.
yeah.
And I know that you guys live in winter times and so on, but you can always touch a tree, yeah, for example.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because it's easy to forget. I remember the very first time, and this was before I knew about grounding or earthing or a lot of the things that I know now, but I just had, I don't know, for whatever reason, decided to hug a tree. I think I was just trying to be silly. And it actually had so much energy. It made me feel a little bit like disoriented afterward because I wasn't ready for it. I didn't,
Expecting.
yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting. It kind of felt like a buzz or a high or something. It was really weird.
Huh.
But it was good. It was good. Yeah.
Cool.
And so we kind of already mentioned it, barefoot on natural ground, touching trees. It's especially powerful in the morning or before bed, just to kind of get yourself more centered. And then again, combined with slow nasal breathing, again, a powerful tool. Next up, structured water. So I'm trying to think of a good way to explain structured water. Do you have a thought on that?
Well, I think that's also something very American, because where I'm from, I mean, not where I live right now, but in Germany, the water quality is so good and it's considered a national good to have
Mm,
water. So it's naturally mineralized. It's it's a really good quality. It's also not that hot where I live that we need to add chlorine or something. So, and mineral water in general is something you get everywhere from natural springs, right? So,
yes.
yeah. And here where I live now, I mean, we just need to, it's almost like distilled water because the plumbing systems aren't that good. The quality of the water itself is not good. So it gets filtered until it's dead. And yeah, I'm adding in trace minerals again.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think you kind of touched on the heart of what I was wanting to talk about in terms of like what is structured water. If we think back, like just what we find in nature, natural springs, the water that is coming down, it's getting filtered, naturally filtered over and through rocks, minerals, those types of things. And so it
Yeah.
also is oxygenated because of that movement. And so there's a natural quality to it, a structured quality that makes it more bioavailable to our cells. So it's
Mm.
more about like you can drink water all day long, but if it can't get into your cells, then you're not getting that benefit of real hydration. And so when
Yeah.
we're talking, yeah, so when we're talking about the importance of structured water, really it's about that bioavailability, that getting into the actual cell. So there's a few
Yeah.
different ways that water can get structured. Practical ways is moving the water or vortexing it. So, I mean, it's not a clear glass, but like if I just took my glass and went like this, that's creating that natural movement within the water. So that helps it become more structured. Other ways would be putting it in a glass jar, setting it out in the sun. I personally have a blue glass jar. It's cobalt blue. It's from Blue Bottle Love. So shout out to them, great company. But then by putting that out in the sun, not only does it structure it, it infuses it with the blue ray, which is great for throat chakra, blue ray energy, all of those types of things. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
You may go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the importance of minerals to get your cell voltage, right? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. You want to add more on that? That was the next talking point, but I'll let you
No, if
just
you have it on your
more.
list, go
I've
ahead.
been talking so much about this, but I'm excited and passionate about it. So, yeah, mineral content. Minerals are really the wiring of our body, like the electrical wiring within our body. So, it's super important for us to have that connective pathway for our entire body to communicate um, at the cellular level. So, yeah, super important. Um, and there's a lot of different ways you can get minerals. I personally, there's two that I like. One is fulvic humic. Get the powder form, not the water, because you never don't know what kind of water they use to begin with. And then I also like it's called concentrates trace minerals. Again,
Yeah,
not treating, diagnosing, prescribing, or healing. These are just personal products that we have
ideas.
found.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about
yeah.
you? Do you have certain ones that you like?
Yeah, I have the fulvic humid acid, of course, as well, and I also have the concentrates.
Yeah. I love it. And we
And
did
I
not talk
have
about this ahead. Yeah.
yeah, and I have the Celtic sea salt.
Yes. Thank you. I did not have that on my list. Talk about that for just a moment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean the Himalayan salt, it's a scam, as we know, and the salt that else is available to here, yeah. So the Celtic sea salt is really salt from the Celtic Sea, and usually when I'm in Germany, we have other good salt sources from mines somewhere even. So they are
Mhm.
also very high in minerals, the mineral water, and of course, but yeah, the Celtic sea salt has many beneficial minerals as well.
Yeah, it has like I think 88 different minerals, and so that's kind of the point of that Celtic salt is that it's got that high mineral concentration, correct?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And again, these are low cost or no cost things that people can do that can greatly improve the quality of their life. So it's really exciting.
Mm.
The next one is circadian rhythm as longevity medicine. And again, I use that term medicine very lightly, in air quotes, because we're not treating, diagnosing, prescribing, or healing.
And
And
it's also about joy. We don't want
yes,
to, we're over the healing.
yes, exactly. Yeah, joy really is like natural medicine. It so is. But circadian rhythm, and we've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but getting that morning sunlight, getting that evening sunlight, it turns on and turns off a lot of different processes within the body. And so think back again to like our ancestors. That's what they lived by was the rhythm of the sun. Um, and so I think that that's something that maybe has gotten lost over the years, but that can really play a part in our longevity as well. The morning light specifically signals hormones, and then the evening is melatonin repair. Not so much the red light itself. Let me clarify that, but sleep hygiene. So sleeping in a dark environment, you want as dark as possible. I've actually got room darkening blinds in my bedroom, and I actually have a sleep mask too. So you want your sleep hours to count, and so that melatonin repair would be interfered with light, especially artificial light. And then sleep is actually when longevity genes express.
Mm.
So the simple takeaway on that, you don't have to have perfect sleep, but your body needs predictable signals.
Hmm.
And yeah, so we could go into a whole thing about blue light before bed and all of that, but I think that that's something that people are fairly well educated on these days. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the fifth kind of practical one is breath, stillness, and awe or wonderment. And I love to think about that because if we think back to when we were a little child, like everything we would experience something and it would be new and fun and exciting, and we'd have this sensation of wonderment and joy and awe about things. And I think it's easy in this fast-paced modern society that we live in to just lose sight of that. When's the last time that we saw something beautiful in nature and just paused and really allowed ourselves to take in the wonder and the awe and the majesty of it? You're spoiled because you live in a really cool place that you get to see
Yeah,
that
and
every
it's
day.
also little things, you know. I mean, I'm a huge fan of puppy videos on Instagram. Why not, right? I
Yes.
just find them adorable and they bring me so much joy.
Yes. Absolutely.
And there's again another side of the reticular activation system, because if you start to pay attention on those things, guess what your mind allows you to perceive more, right? And yeah, there's always kindness and stuff you can observe in the world that brings you joy.
Hmm. Well, and I love that you brought up the puppy videos because that is such a great example, really, of how the reticular activating system works. It's kind of like the algorithm on social media. The things that we click on, the things that we like, we spend more time on. The algorithm pays attention and notices that, and then feeds us more of that. So that's kind of
Yeah,
a fun way to consider that.
yeah.
Well, and then again, more kind of along the lines of the breath and the stillness and the awe. These are all things that we can do that are free. Slow breathing that we talked about earlier, it increases vagal tone. Stillness tells the brain that we survived, we're okay, be present in this moment, and you're fine. And then awe expands perception and reduces stress chemistry. Um, and some examples, we've already kind of mentioned some of these, watching a sunrise, music that evokes emotion. Man, that's a big one. When you pair emotion with intent, that can have some powerful outcomes. And then gratitude without forcing positivity. And we've talked a little bit about that already as well. And then finally, just kind of shifting back into the joy. There are joy practices that actually impact the biology of a person directly. And so this is such a beautiful, beautiful takeaway. So if people take nothing else away from our conversation today, I hope that they can really zero in on this next little bit, things we're going to talk about. Laughter that comes from connection, not distraction. So laughter from the puppy videos is fantastic, but it's a different type than laughter of you and I here having this fun conversation with each other and just enjoying each other's presence.
Mm.
Another one is creative expression without performance. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any creative outlets that you like that you want to talk about?
Oh, I would love to paint again, but
Mm.
yeah, it's very hard to get all the equipment here, you know. Yeah, I would need to drive to the next biggest town that has art supplies. It's a 2 hour drive one way, and you just don't get the
Ah,
quality, and the air is too humid for the oil paintings. So I'm finding excuses basically, but
uh-huh, uh-huh. I'm about to call you out on it.
yeah, but sadly, surfing is for me a little bit, I have to admit, a little bit too much performance based, although it's
Mm,
also, yeah, it's also a creative outlet for me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you, thank you for being transparent and vulnerable to share that because it's a great example of something that could be really fun and enjoyable, but can take a performance bent if you're not careful with it.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
some survivor resource brain patterns to unpack there.
Yes. Yeah, we were talking, I think, before we started recording. We've got stuff to heal till the day we die, right? And so finding the joy in the journey, I think, is so powerful and
Yeah.
can help us just to release some of those things that can weigh us down. But um, okay, I'm going to pick on you for just a minute. It's in love, though, okay, because it might
No,
help
no,
some.
no, no, no. Now we want to hear about your creative outlet.
I will tell on myself in a moment. But it's, you just provided such a fantastic example though of how it is so easy. Like your heart says, oh, I would like to paint more, and then your head says, oh, but it's going to be hard to get the supplies and this and this and this, all of the reasons why you can't listen to your heart's call and your heart's desire of what would bring you joy.
Yeah.
So I would just invite you to allow yourself to consider other avenues in which you could paint. Like really tap into that creativity. This might sound really silly and infantile, but it really taps into a little child in me. Finger paint, or you live near a beach, get some sand and then just finger paint in some sand or add some food coloring, or allow yourself permission to be creative in a different way that would still fulfill that desire
Yeah.
for that creative outlet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'll pick on me. So as far as me, creative outlet, if I'm being completely transparent, I think that there was a long time that I had completely leaned so much into performance, so much into masculine energy and performance based worth that I really forgot what brought me joy. I really truly had forgotten. And so I literally sat there one day trying to make a list of things that brought me joy because I was just so far removed. I was trying to reconnect to that. And um, I love that we're on this topic right now though, because my husband, I think, giggles at me about this, but I have tubes of bubbles, like little kid bubbles that you blow in the air. I do.
Oh,
It just makes me so happy. And I've given myself to be as silly as I want to. If it's something that brings some part of me joy, then it's valuable. And I am valuable enough to pursue that. And that was a
yeah.
hard one truth for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're also old enough to do whatever the fuck you want, right?
Yes. I could be a member of the Red Hat Society if I wanted. That's funny. Oh, I feel my face getting red. That's funny, Patricia.
I'm old enough to own the bubbles.
Yes, exactly. I'm old enough to own the bubbles. I think I'm gonna like draw that on my wall somewhere. Okay, so let's move back on to additional joy that I came up with earlier, and kind of when I was creating lessons. Oh, I would be joyful if my computer didn't fall asleep on me. That would be great. Um, Meaningful conversation, and we're engaged in that right now, and I love it because it's not just meaningful for you and I, but it's meaningful, hopefully meaningful for whoever comes across this. So that's great. Spiritual grounding, and whatever that looks like for a person. I obviously come to it through a Christian lens, but you don't, I know, and not everyone else does. But there can be spirituality, there can be grounding within that, and a lot of that again incorporates maybe prayer, maybe meditation, maybe surrender. That's a big one for a lot of people I speak with these days. Surrender is a common theme. Do you want to talk about that at all? Surrender?
Um, yeah, it goes along the lines a little bit what we earlier said about perfectionism, right? My boss from my daytime job says, for me, it goes along those lines of uh, the the illusion of insignificance. Does that
Ooh,
make sense? You
I
have
thought
a
you were saying,
significant life, but just because the problems of the world out there are maybe a little bit bigger than you are right now, you are still empowered to actualize a better future in your own life right now. And as such create a ripple effect in your environment, ideally. And even if it's just only for your own life, right?
mm,
You don't need to solve world peace. So
yeah,
to surrendering to what is out there doesn't mean that you think that it's good what's happening out there, but just being realistic with the facts and yeah, check in with your own life, what you can do right now.
you took a very more global perspective than I had even considered. That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And so I will share it more on maybe a microcosm where I've seen
Yeah.
it show up for people, for myself, and for other people that I've talked with recently. It's things that happen in their personal lives.
Mm.
Um, Wanting to be
Winter,
able
the
to,
winter, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, wanting to be able to control the outcome, like or feeling that, and again, it taps into that perfectionism that we talked about earlier, feeling that if we can just get things right, then things would work out. But I have found time and time again, and I'm speaking this as someone who has had to live through hard lessons to finally realize this. I'm not coming at this from like a preachy level for anyone. But once you can get yourself to the point where you can surrender the outcome, surrender the means, the how, the from point A to point B, just to really allow yourself more into trust, whether that's trusting God, whether that's trusting the universe, just surrendering that tight grip of controlling things just like it looses something to occur that you couldn't possibly have imagined, and there's great peace in that.
Yeah, you let go a little bit of resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels really like, letting go. The best description of letting go I ever got was you hold something very tight in your fist and you just open your hand. And the item that you were frustrated upon where that you were resisting, it still is on the palm of your hand, but you let
Yeah.
go of the grip of it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I like that. I'd not heard that before. Thank you for sharing that. And then the last one, which we've kind of been doing, excuse me, throughout this entire conversation, is play without being focused on the outcome. Just play, just enjoy your life, whatever
Mm,
that play looks like for you.
mm,
Joy is not a reward, it's a biological requirement.
mm-hmm,
It's something that
mm-hmm.
we need. And it's I think so easy for so many people, and if I don't watch it, it's easy for me to do this too, where it's like, oh well, let me get the work done first and then I'll enjoy later. And I recently was reminded in the master class that I was taking, it was so good. um, Play in the doing.
Yeah.
Play in the doing. That's just so powerful to me. It's not like wait to arrive at a certain place before you can start enjoying your life or enjoying the experience or enjoying the blessing that you've received. Just joy in the doing and joy in the being.
Yeah, I mean, you brought that example, I think, a couple of episodes back where it's like, well, damn it, I need to do the dishes. No, you are allowed to do the dishes. You have dishes you can do. I mean, that's now a little bit a weird flex I'm doing right now, but it's like if you already shift that, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a mundane task and you can meditate while doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is not, oh, I love that we're here because this was not planned, but I just recently listened to another podcast. I want to say it
Oh,
was
I thought you were saying, oh, I recently did the dishes.
no, but my husband did this morning. So thank you, husband. I didn't have to do them this morning. But I was listening to a podcast. I want to say that it was Andrew Huberman for anyone who follows him.
Oh
And
yeah, he's
it was
great. Yeah.
talking about longevity and specifically the AMCC, that's the initials of it, part of the brain. And that when you do things that you don't want to, that you prefer not to, like the dishes, for example, but when you do them, this part of the brain grows. It increases, literally increases in size and mass. And that has been linked to longevity. So, like people that they've done studies on, and the people who have done that more throughout their life have healthier aging and age longer. Like,
So it's
have
about repetitive tasks or
it's about pushing through the resistance. So
oh,
not the resistance like controlling, like holding on too tightly, like we're talking about earlier, but like doing things that you would really rather not do it, but choosing to do them anyway. It's that, it's like a muscle. It's whatever that's a part of that brain. It's called AMCC, deep in the brain, and it grows the muscle, just like your bicep or tricep. When you work out that muscle, it gets stronger and bigger. It's that same kind of idea.
yeah. And I mean, I know we grew up at a time where we are like, well, when once your brain is done, it's done. Your brain neuroplasticity was not a thing 25 years ago when we went to school, 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So glad that we know about it now.
Yeah, 100%, right? I mean, the first studies I heard about neuroplasticity was on taxi drivers in London, that their brain part for 3D perception was bigger than in other people. This was the first time I came across neuroplasticity.
That's very cool.
And I mean, that's really, I don't know how old that study is, right? And look at how far we've come now. I think it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting here stuck thinking about the taxi drivers, and I've seen things, read things about how many streets they have to memorize, and so that makes so much sense about why that part of the brain would have to develop so much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very, very cool. Well, kind of the last thing that, excuse me, that I just wanted to mention really in kind of closing is that the body doesn't really need better inputs or more inputs. It just needs to feel safe enough to heal. And joy, presence, and regulation may be the most underestimated longevity practices that we have. So it's really important for people to pause, take stock of that, remember to be present, remember to tap into joy whenever possible. And with that comes that regulation and the body's innate ability to self heal when we give it the tools that it needs that we've discussed today.
Beautiful. I think we close with that.
I think we do.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. That was really fun and lovely.
It was fun, Patricia. Thank you. I'm looking forward to our conversation next time.
Yes, me too.